If you're a content creator or interested in making videos, then stay tuned. I'm going to be sharing some tips, tricks and lessons learned over the past year. Now, before I get started, I just wanted to make you aware I am going to be making a number of smaller videos, but focusing on certain areas of cinematography, videography, editing and things like that. So that will be coming up over the year. So if you click on the subscribe button, which is down there somewhere, you'll get alerted for when these come out. Now let's get on with the video. I'm actually going to split this into 4 sections. The first is planning, followed by the equipment I use and how I go about filming, and finally the actual editing process and the software I use and things like that. So let's get started with point 1, which was planning. Now, with what I do, there can be a very long lead time between starting an initial conversation with a racing team and actually attending the event. The reason for that is I'm trying to sell myself to what I can offer the team. How am I going to promote the driver? What is it that I've got that, you know, that they should invite me along? At the end of the day, it is a working environment and I need to go along and I need to promote them. So I need to get something together to talk to the teams. I mean, a lot of people will reject you. You need to face facts because there are an awful lot of people out there on big budgets that want to come along and do the same thing. So once I have come up with something and built that relationship, I can go forward from there. The video you can see just behind me here, that was with a guy called Max Coates in the Clio Cup, and I actually started talking to Max last year in 2016, just at the end of the season, to film this year. So you can imagine the lead time on that goes with that. There's also other considerations, events I go to. For example, I've got Autosport next week, my next couple of weeks in fact, in Birmingham, and I've had to go to a media accreditation, so you have to send in examples of your work and get that all signed off, but you can only do that a couple of months before. Lots and lots of things like that as well, and that sort of event, I've got to book hotels, food, time off work, so there's lots of other things that go on in the background before anything really gets started. Now we're really just going to focus on one event. We'll focus on the Clio Cup video that's playing. With that, I attended the event for 3 days. So obviously that meant time off work, unfortunately. So that had to be sorted. But just before, really a week before, 2 weeks before the event started, the thing I've learned is king is the story. That is the most important thing. Remember that. Story is king. You can have amazing equipment, spend 20, 30,000 on a red camera. Well, probably a lot more than that. It could look amazing, but if there's no story, there's no point. So that needs to be worked out ahead of time. And what I like to do now, I picked up some great advice from a few people, that decide on your title for your YouTube thing. That will give you the direction of the video. So you won't wander around and sort of lose focus on what you want to do. So come up with that. That's really important. So I do that, and then I can sort of start thinking about the fine details. With this video, I knew that I wanted to look at the progress that Max was making over the weekend and any trials and tribulations. I know I needed interviews and things like that, so I could sort of roughly plan, sort out a few questions. But the thing I've really learned is things can change at any second. Driver can go out, warm up, have a great time, and then last corner, come off, damage the car. And at that point, things completely change. Your plans can just pick them up, throw them out the window, and you need to then work around the team and the driver. The driver probably is not in the mood to talk to you whatsoever. The team are running around trying to sort the car out and lots of things like that, you know. And if even things like the weather changing, if they've got a dry setup and suddenly have to go to wet. So you can imagine the dynamic you have to worry about is really important, and being flexible enough. I know this is quite precise about what I do, But you guys out there, if you plan as well, you can't plan for everything, but if you were doing, say, a car review video, you might know that you want to talk about certain aspects of the car, how it handles, looks, and things like that. So that's sort of relevant to what I do. Then really it's, you know, I can sort of settle back, relax a bit and wait for a few days before and start getting my equipment ready. Now that leads me on to the second point. What equipment do I use? Now I'm filming on the camera I use mainly, so it's a bit difficult, but it's this thing here. This is a Canon 80D. Now the reason I went for this camera was because another vlogger, Casey Neistat, I'm sure you've heard of him, that's what he used. He actually used the 70D, which is this predecessor, and the 80 came out, so I thought, I'll have that. When I also went with the other recommendation he's got, was a Rode Video Mic Pro. Now they do a slightly cheaper one, the Rode Video Mic, but I needed some additional features that this model offered, which is to do with noise cancellation, because being at a race circuit you need a bit of extra control. Now a good tip, get one of these. This is actually called a dead cat. Yep, it is actually called that. Quite surprised, but what this does is stops any wind noise basically. I've had times when I haven't had one of these before I actually started properly and the sound was absolutely ruined. So one of these, I think it's about 25 to 30 pounds. Forgot to say the Rode Video Mic, that's about 150, and the Canon 80D is about 999 I think for the body. Back to the actual camera at the moment. The reason also I picked it is the autofocus on this is incredible. I know some other people I've spoken to in the past have had problems with autofocus on cheaper cameras, but luckily this does not have that problem. But it is expensive, that's the only thing. I mean, to me as a hobby, £1,000, that's a lot of money, and you don't need it. You start off cheap. If this is your first entry into trying out video, you know, use your phone. Phones are brilliant. But for what I do, I think this is, you know, the perfect setup. Now I've got a few lenses here. This one here, this is a 10 to 18mm wide angle. So if I'm vlogging or I've got very tight spaces, this wide angle is brilliant. What I'm shooting on at the moment is an 18 to 135. So that's a zoom. That was actually a kit lens. And this little one, this is absolutely incredible. This is a 50mm. It's got a nickname of a Nifty 50. Almost couldn't say it there, but this is brilliant. This is very, very cheap as well. I think it was about £110. But the quality of shots you can get from this is amazing. There are some downsides, but let's look at the positives on this. I'm going to put up some pictures sort of up here at the moment of what this thing can do. It's absolutely incredible. Love that lens. Now this also, this little lavalier mic, you can see that there, that is really useful as well. Normally if I'm conducting interviews or I want to put the camera down like this and walk around, I'll put one of these on, plug that end into a mobile phone and then sync it up in post. I think it was about £4, maybe £5, so that's perfect. And also a little dead cat for that as well. Invaluable. What else have I got here? iPad. Use that quite a lot just for general social media, putting up quick pictures, because I have got a number of sort of social media present if you want to put out something on Twitter or Facebook. Absolutely ideal. Or even editing pictures, it's great for that, or maybe a quick video you want to do. Use that. And also, almost forgot, live streaming. YouTube live stream, I will use this. It's what I've got and it's pretty good. If we look at the vlogging side of it, I've got one of these. A lot of people use GorillaPods. Great. I may consider getting one of those in the future, but this is a Manfrotto monopod. So as you can see, it extends out, and on the top of that I've got an adjustable section here, so you can see that. So if I'm vlogging, camera on top, like that, and that's pretty good. It also means that if I want a steady shot and I'm on a zoom or something like that, I can extend that down, put it there, and you've got a nice steady shot to base it on, which I don't think you could really do with the GorillaPod, so it's a bit of a mix. Now, what else? This is a Steadicam. Brilliant bit of kit, about £70 roughly, and that will give you some nice smooth shots. You've got this or a gimbal or something like that. Again, like I said, it's about £70. If you want to go sort of the top end, you're looking at something like a Ronin M, but they're hundreds, you know, they're nearly £1,000 I think for one of those. But it does well for that. Laptop, that's very important, something to edit on. I use Adobe Cc, so I get the whole cloud bundle. It's about £50 a month, and you get all your photo editing, audio editing, special effects. Really, really good. Now, this is a very, very useful tip as well. This is an ND filter, if I can actually get it out of the box. That doesn't look much, but when you're filming outside and it's very, very bright, you'll get a completely blown out picture. Everyone must have seen that. Everything goes white, you can't see anything. Get one of these. They're about £19 I think I spent for that. They do go a lot more. You can spend £100, £150, but that was a good buy, and I'd massively recommend getting one of those. Don't forget to buy enough batteries. I've got 3 extra ones here, one in the camera, I think one in the charger, so I've got 5. These aren't cheap. Canon batteries are around £70 to £80 each, but if you're out, and I can be out filming for like 12 hours in a day, you don't just have a plug socket lying around, so you need plenty of those. Also remember to get the correct memory card for your camera, the correct speed. At the moment I've got 2 64 gig cards, and I could easily fill them up in a day, so you get through an awful lot of data. The third area I want to talk about is the actual filming. So I've got all the plans ready, I've got the equipment, I'll go to the circuit, so I'll be there sort of 7 o'clock, maybe 6 o'clock in the morning. So it is a very early start, and I will probably be there for around 12 hours. So that's the sort of duration and time that goes into each filming day. And in the case of the Clio Cup video, I was there Friday, Saturday and Sunday. So it's 36 hours there. So a lot of dedication is required to do this. Now, filming wise, I will have a printout of this things I want to film. So I'll have all my B-roll. It might be I want to take some shots of close-up shots of a wheel or petrol can or door, or there's lots and lots of things I film which I don't know if I'm even going to need them. The tip on this really is have too much B-roll. In fact, you can never have too much B-roll. Take loads of it. It's nothing worse than trying to have an interview, put something over the top and just running out of footage. Yep, so that is a really important tip. Plenty of B-roll. The actual event itself, this is very specific obviously to what I do, but it's quite a dangerous environment. You're in a garage with very expensive equipment, mechanics running around, cars. It's somewhere that you have to be really, really careful of. Some of the time, you know, people think it's very glamorous and things like that, but I've been crouching in corners before, in the corner of a garage waiting for a shot for maybe 1, 2, 3 hours, just for a 5-second shot. So patience is certainly key to everything. I can't really cover the actual cinematography side of this. I probably will do some extra videos in that later on, because that is such a complex area. I'm not trained in any of this. This is what I've learned and I've read, and experience has taught me the type of shots you want. So again, I will do a further video on the style I've got. I've got my own personal style, so try and pick out your own. But again, like I said, further video on that. With my interviews, for example, I might not interview anyone on the Saturday at all, and then have to do interviews on the Sunday talking about the Saturday and put it all together. So many things I film are completely out of sync. They're not in the timeline at all. The video behind me, you can see, I think I did an interview on Sunday talking about Friday. So you have to be quite clever about the way you put things together, the way you've got things in your head, and that's what the plan will help you do. You know that you need to do that, but when you do it is a different matter. And like I was sort of mentioned earlier on, things change all the time. I've been to an event before where I had everything planned, but then unfortunately their main car, one of their GT3 cars, crashed out, and the car's written off, and the team weren't really in the mood to be doing interviews. The driver certainly wasn't. So it went completely to pot. And then you have to just think on your feet and make something up. One thing I will say, if you're going to go into this sort of filming, good tip, get good shoes, well, good clothing really. You will walk an awful long way. And most events I go to, it seems to rain. I don't know what it is about British weather, but as soon as an event happens outside, yeah, it's going to rain. And it gets cold and horrible. Nothing worse. So try and get some warm clothing, well, suitable clothing to do so. So that's my tip about filming. It's really patience and clothing. The fourth and final area is the actual editing. Taking this raw footage, hours and hours of it, and turning it into the story you are trying to tell at the beginning. It's all very well getting your mobile phone and taking some shots and putting that up, but that's not what this is about. I'm sure you guys out there who do this as well, you know, that create videos, know the amount of work that goes into editing a video. It can actually take longer than the actual video filming itself and everything else that goes with it. So you can probably feel my pain on this. The editing, I'd say I normally have about 200 to 300 gig of video, so that's 1080. That's not in 4K, so there is a lot of video to actually go through. And I've heard numerous ways that people like editing. Some just drop everything onto a timeline in your editing package and take bits out. My actual way of doing it is I like to watch the videos back, label them, put them in folders, and just plan it out beforehand, and then I go into editing. In terms of editing though, I use Adobe, I've got the CC package, so that's Adobe Premiere, and all of the like special effects. The audio stuff I use quite a lot as well, and you basically get everything that Adobe offer. It's about £50 a month, so it's not cheap, and you can't have a one-off payment, but it is very, very good. The actual editing process for me, I think I've got it down. The last video I did probably took around 20 to 25 hours of editing. So it's not a short process, and I have to get it done quite quickly because the content is relevant probably for a couple of weeks. People want to know what happened in the race they went to last week. So it's really, really time critical. And I don't have much time. I work in London full time, so I have to try and do the two. Well, basically no sleep for a week is the way you get it done. But editing, I want to cover that in more detail, probably in another video or videos, because there's so many different things. You know, you've got simple things like how do you do transitions between a car moving that way to a person, or the type of shots and interviews, for example. That's a whole world of things I've had to learn there. How do you interview someone? What's good questions to ask? And there's all these things, and hopefully I can make short videos for all of you guys out there just to watch. Go, they're the basics of having an interview. That's the basics of maybe filming that with a bit of B-roll on it and things like that. So that's where I'm coming through on that. So I will do that over the coming year, like I said, just different events I go to, and then show you how you go about editing and things like that. So that's everything really I can think of. It's been a sort of a bit more of a detailed look at what goes on, as you can see, and hopefully appreciate the amount of work that goes on to make a 12-minute video is huge. So I'm looking at, what's that, 50 hours roughly to film a 12-minute video. yeah, that just sounds completely mad. I'm going to put a link sort of up there somewhere of the video that's playing in the background, so you can get an idea of where I was and the work that's gone in and the end of the video. So like I said, that's everything. Series will be coming over the next sort of 6 months. The next event I've got, which I'm going to, I've got Autosport International, so keep tuned for that one. I hope you've enjoyed this video. It's been quite long, I suppose, quite detailed and quite different from what I usually do, but this is what I do. This is the behind the scenes of the video. So if you have liked it, please give it a thumbs up. Comments and questions are always welcome, and remember to click on that subscribe button. Thanks for watching.